Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome to the Vikings Now for our weekly live show. Super fired up to start to be doing these during the offseason because there's a lot to talk about around our Minnesota Vikings. Jeff Vikings, you had me dead in the chat already when you said, can I say ass on TV? Say whatever you want, Jeff. Do whatever you want. But Joey in the chat, Adam Schmidt in the chat. Adam, I decided for the segments today.
SKOL Adam!
We're rocking that. You know, it could be Jordan Addison or it could be Adam Schmidt. We're going to call it the SKOL Adam
Jordan
jersey.
Adam Schmidt?
Jordan Adam Schmidt? Who knows? Who knows? But if you guys are a diehard Vikings fan, get the chat going as we let the audience build up. Type those skulls down below as Jeff saying, an invite. Yes, sir, Jeff. Yes, sir. Rocky's in the chat saying SKOL, everybody. Get the bag. 510 saying SKOL as well. Joey in the chat saying SKOL. Shout out to all of you guys. Yeah, I put the poll today as should the Vikings bring back Danielle Hunter? You said what? Yeah. Yeah, I put a poll as should the Vikings bring back Danielle Hunter, and 78% are saying yes. I honestly thought that would have been more towards 90-something, but, you know, I get it. There's definitely an argument to be made that they shouldn't. As Jeff Vikings saying, trading up never comes cheap, does it? Yeah, and listen, we're not going to be talking about trading up for a quarterback today. We're going to be going over some Danielle Hunter replacements, a little teaser, some cut candidates, and a mailbag. But, yeah, trading up for a quarterback in this year's class is not going to be cheap, especially with the two top dogs, you know, Caleb Williams and, you know, Drake May. It's going to cost a haul to get up there, especially with the Commanders. You know, they're most likely going to want to take a quarterback at that 2 spot. And then the Bears going to want to give the Vikings the number 1 overall pick. Even if the Vikings have the best package by far, I still find that really, really hard to believe. But speaking about Danielle Hunter, if you guys want number 99 back, and maybe some of you guys don't, but if you do, give me a 99 down in the comments section. Personally, I kind of, you know, Danielle Hunter is one of those guys. I remember talking to my dad about it right when the Vikings drafted him. And you know, I was just looking at his physical profile, just seeing how cut up he was. And he was like the first guy, because he wasn't a first-round pick, that I was like, that dude's going to be a Pro Bowler. That dude's going to be one of the best edges in the National Football League. It was kind of the first football take I really ever had right in my career. So I'm a little biased towards Danielle Hunter. I love him, but I would bring him back. I'd be typing my 99s right now as Ayon Dadon saying Daniels, LSU quarterback, and keep Hunter. I mean, hey, if you could somehow get Jaden Daniels, bring back Danielle Hunter, I will not be complaining one bit. Danielle Hunter is an LSU guy. Vikings got a lot of LSU cats on that team. Obviously, you know, big dog Justin Jefferson being an LSU guy, and then, you know, obviously Danielle Hunter. As Roger Bong in the chat. What up, Raj? How you doing? He's typing the 99s down below. Roger, I was debating rocking your 99 jersey, or I was going to rock the Adam Schmidt SKOL Adam jersey. Went with this week, but maybe next week we got to rock the Danielle Hunter one. What's up, Raj? How you doing? Long time no see, my friend. Long time no see. Great to have you guys, you know, back in the chat. You know, getting active. Obviously, these aren't the same as, you know, our watch party days, you know, because those got wild. But we can still break down the latest around this ball club. Is Jeff Viking saying, my wife sued Ponder's nameplate back on his jersey, which I ripped off, and I seen how much he sucked. Yeah, I mean, Christian Ponder's up there as one of the worst draft picks in Vikings history. There's no doubt about it. His wife actually does good work on ESPN, though, so shout out to her. Shout out to her. But before we dive into more on our live show, letting the audience build up, I do want to tell you guys about Prize Picks, today's sponsor of today's live show on Vikings Now. And Prize Picks, it's daily fantasy sports made easy. All you got to do, you're going to pick 2 or more players, and then you're going to choose more or less on some projected stat types. You guys can start seeing the cash rolling today. I got a lineup already for the Super Bowl. They got a deal going on right now where they have Mahomes' passing yards at a half. I'm obviously going to take them more. You know, there's no way that doesn't go more. So I'm taking that. And then Pacheco, I think he's going to find the end zone, so I got more on half a touchdown for him. And then McCaffrey, I think he's going to have it going in the, you know, the pass catching game this weekend or next weekend. So I'm going to take more on 35.5 for him. But if you guys want to fade my picks or ride with my picks, do it at Prize Picks, prizepicks.com/CLNS, and use that promo code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. Get hooked up today. But this is something fun we used to do on our live shows during watch party days. It's just name a random Vikings player. I think last week I did Sidney Rice as my random Vikings player off the top of my head. If I had to go one right now, off the top of my head, a random Vikings player. Also, you guys want CJ Ham would be a good one. I love Hammer Time. Random Vikings player. I got this one. Toby Gerhart will be my random Viking for the day. One of the best white running backs of all time. Was a dog at Stanford. I'll go Toby Gerhart as mine, but you guys let me know. Name a random Vikings player. Robert Smith's a really good one. I like that. Yeah, I said Sidney Rice last week. Who? Green Gelman. I was going to go, who's the tight end? Shenko. I forget his first name. Is it like Visante Shenko? I was going to go him as one. But this week, I'll go Toby Gerhart. Visante Shenko. Yeah, he was part of that 2009 team that got dunked on by the Saints. But
here's a great football name. Steve Stonebreaker.
Steve Stonebreaker. Does he say his position?
Steve Stonebreaker was a guess. You get one guess.
Steve Stonebreaker, linebacker.
Yes, he was a linebacker.
I love that.
He played for the Vikings from 1962 to 1963.
Okay, Steve Stonebreaker. As Rocky, Robert Smith. Antoine Winfield Jr. is a really good one. John Randall. You could get a little more random than that. As Roger, birthday or Super Bowl's on your birthday? Hey, Roger, if I don't see you before then, happy birthday, man. Everybody give an HBD for my man Roger down in the chat.
Happy birthday, Roger.
The Jeff Viking saying, man, Taylor Swift paid someone off for the Chiefs to win that game. Hey, I understand people get kind of sick of the Taylor Swift stuff. I kind of like it a little bit because it puts more eyes on, the game I love, but definitely gets a little bit annoying. But then we got the first super chat of the day. This man right here, Adam Schmidt, coming in with a $20 super chat saying, SKOL, Seeps, keep us hyped. Adam, it's off-season time, but I'm trying to, my man. I'm trying to. A lot of questions got to be answered around this football team. And, yeah, it's going to be a fun off-season. I think Danielle Hunter and the quarterback position are the two biggest, topics of conversation as of right now. But, Adam, we appreciate it, man. We appreciate it. I'll throw this out there. If we get up to $200 in super chats today, I'll do a boot. Or if somebody sends in a $100 super chat, I'll do a boot. That's the deal of the day. Deal of the day right there.
Hey, Seeps.
What's up, Trace?
We get that 100. I'm in too, brother.
A little boot race. A little boot race for a $100 super chat. Shout out to my man Trace Gerard. Even though he's a Saints fan, he's the only Saints fan I actually really, really like.
I say the same thing about you too, Seeps.
Most Saints and Vikings fans don't get along. Somehow Trace and I were able to, break down those barriers and become brothers. But
it's because we both can't stand those scumbag Packers.
Yes, it's always FGB over here. That's where Saints fans, Vikings fans can kind of come together. But we also will have a mailbag coming up. Hashtag Vikings, the easiest way to get on the show. Or you can super chat. If you guys have any question, you guys will skip the line, and we will put you at the top of the show. You guys can direct the show. It's a ton of fun. Ask me whatever you want. It could be personal. It could be about the Vikings, the whole NFL, whatever you guys want. But if you guys are asking a question, hashtag Vikings. Get them down there, down below, or super chat. It's just Viking saying, you have a crush on her, don't you? Taylor Swift, I don't really know. Good looking by standard, but I don't know if she's like my celebrity crush. No, that's that's a great way to describe it, Trace. I hope you guys heard that, but she's no Sydney Sweeney by any means. She's no Sydney.
Not
Sweeney.
Even close to the Sween. Oh my goodness.
You guys know, you know. What's up, Myers World? Saying Patrick Siepman. What about Rolly and also Allie Barefoot and also Smitty Dog do the Barefoot race as well? Just 7 boots up here. We could maybe do that. But Myers World, shout out to you. But coming up here, this is what's going down on today's edition of the live show for the week. Danielle Hunter replacements. I think that's how we're going to start, or that is how we're going to that they do that. And also top cut candidates, as you guys see Harrison Smith right there. It's going to be a sad day, but I do think Harry may get cut. And then also a mailbag, so use hashtag Vikings to get on the show. Or you guys can also super chat Jeff Vikings, Roger Bong, Adam Schmidt, Maya's World, and Rocky, and Dan Gallagher. All of you guys ask a question right now. Hashtag Vikings, get them in. And hey, if you guys are ready, drop a like also on today's video. We can get after it, but Danielle Hunter replacements, don't like making this video, but I think the Vikings, if they do lose Danielle, they're going to be active, whether it's free agency or the draft, trying to get an edge rusher. So that's what's coming up here. And if Trace, if you're ready, Danielle Hunter replacements, we can get after it right now. What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Vikings Now by Chat Sports. My name is Patrick Siepman. Coming up on today's show, top Danielle Hunter replacements. I don't like making this video, but the more I look at kind of the Vikings cap situation and certain moves they need to get done this offseason, I think it's becoming less and less likely that they bring back number 99. So I got 5 guys in free agency and 3 guys in the draft later on in today's show that could replace number 99. But we could start it off with this. If you guys want the Vikings to bring back Danielle Hunter and sign him to a contract this offseason, give me a 99. Type his jersey number down below in the comment section. I want to see thousands of 99s down there on today's show. Show him some love. Send a message to Kwesi Adofo-Mensah that you want to bring back Danielle Hunter. Type those 99s. But we're going to start it off with the top free agent options for replacing Mr. Danielle Hunter. And number 1, the best free agent edge on the market right now is Josh Allen, not the quarterback from Buffalo, but the edge rusher from Jacksonville. And PFF has his contract projection as it stands right now as a 1-year, $22.79 million deal. And maybe saying, well, it's a hefty price tag, but listen, guys, Josh Allen's a hell of a football player, and I think he's one of the more underrated players, not just at the edge position, but honestly in the entire National Football League. He's also great in the run game as well. But this past season, the dude put up 17.5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, did have that INT, and he's actually incredibly underrated at setting the edge. Any single time I watch him play football, he jumps off the screen for me. So, Josh Allen could be a very solid replacement. But again, if the Vikings have a decision to make, whether it's, Danielle Hunter for $20 million a year or Josh Allen for $23 million a year, give me Danielle Hunter any day of the week. But in terms of an other option besides Hunter, I think Josh Allen's number 1 for me. Number 2, though, Brian Burns from the Carolina Panthers. And this guy's his name's been floated around in trade rumors for the past 2 trade deadlines, and Carolina has decided to keep him. So I do expect Carolina to try their best to bring him back. But if he decides to go elsewhere, I think Minnesota could be a great landing spot for him. And same projection as Josh Allen. PFF has him as a 1-year, $22.79 million deal. Again, if it's these 2 top options of Josh Allen and Brian Burns, the Vikings were deciding between, those 2 and Hunter, I just take 99. And that's like, I understand people who are in the camp where it's like, hey, we're not going to bring back Danielle. He's had 2 major surgeries. He's also turning 30 next season. I hear all that, but the year Danielle Hunter had last season of putting up 16.5 sacks, 23 tackles for loss, I think he's way more productive than those 2 guys. And honestly, those 2 guys are going to go for more. So I'd still ride with Hunter. But obviously, if you guys disagree, you guys can let me know. But and also I'll say cheaper option, a more financially responsible option maybe would be this guy Bryce Huff. And it's calling Josh Allen one of the more underrated players in the NFL. I think Bryce Huff could make an argument for that as well. And PFF has his contract projection at 3 years, $50 million per year. And listen, guys, he's a young and up-and-coming player in the NFL. And he finally kind of had his breakout year this past year for the Jets, putting up double-digit sacks. And listen, he's always been a high-pressure guy in his first 3 seasons in the NFL, but he was never able to, fully get home. And he finally stayed healthy this season. And listen, I always look at, pressures. Obviously sack is probably the more important stat, but I think pressures are maybe a better indicator of how often a guy is getting home. And listen, he's been able to do that throughout his career in the NFL. So listen, he's a young and up-and-coming player. I do expect the Jets to try their best to bring him back. But hey, if they don't, Bryce Huff, even if the Vikings do bring back Danielle Hunter, this could be a guy that I would be absolutely thrilled if that they would sign him. Number 4 for me, a guy that maybe has a bad reputation right now because a clip went viral of him kind of showing a lack of effort against the Detroit Lions. But it's Chase Young. He's number 4 for me. And right now they have his contract projection at 1 year, $15 million this offseason. And it's very, very similar to an edge rusher we signed last year for a 1 year, $13 million deal. This would be Marcus Davenport all over again, in my opinion. You have a guy in Chase Young. He's had injury concern and also character concern, to start off his NFL career. That's just like Marcus Davenport. So I'd steer clear of Chase Young, even though he did end up having a pretty good second half against, the Detroit Lions, in the NFC Championship game. I just don't like the effort that I consistently see from him. He's a tremendous talent. Definitely still great at getting to the quarterback, but I don't love him in the run game. And this just screams Marcus Davenport all over again for the Minnesota Vikings. And, shout out to producer Trace on today's show. He was completely right about Marcus Davenport. I got my hopes up. Should have just listened to him, man. But Yeah, I just think this would be Marcus Davenport all over again if the Vikes would sign him. I got one more name in free agency that the Vikings could sign in, and 3 draft targets. But first, I want to tell you guys about today's sponsor, and that is PrizePicks. If you guys head to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use promo code CLNS, we're going to hook you guys up with a first deposit match all the way up to $100. PrizePicks, it's daily fantasy sports made easy, and this is the lineup I'm rolling with for this big game coming up, not this weekend, but the next weekend. I'm rolling with more than half a passing yards for Mahomes, more on half a touchdown for Isaiah Pacheco. I just feel like that crazy guy is going to find the end zone at least one time in the Super Bowl. Then I got McCaffrey, having a big-time game. So I'm going to go more on 35.5 receiving yards for him. But if you guys want to fade with my picks or ride my picks, make sure you guys do it at PrizePicks. PrizePicks.com/CLNS and use promo code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. Number 5 for me in terms of free agent options for the Minnesota Vikings is the man from the Texans who had a breakout season this past year, Jonathan Greenard. Listen, he's a stud, man. Anytime I watch Texans play this year, he's a guy that pops off the screen, and he's expected to get paid this offseason. PFF projects him at a 3-year, $47.5 million deal, and he probably deserves every single cent of that. Here's a big reason. Him and Will Anderson obviously paired up with D'Amico that really turned around this Texans team, and, the dude got home a lot last season. Him having double-digit sacks, ended up at 12.5, a forced fumble as well, 2 PBUs on the season. He's getting those hands up in passing lanes, but also 52 tackles as well. This would be another guy, cheaper option compared to Danielle, but I would absolutely love it if they brought Greenard in. He's a dog, man, and he just has incredible bend as well. Freak athlete, so I would not mind him at all. But if we get any updates around Danielle Hunter, we will have a video for you guys ASAP. Besides the quarterback position, this is the biggest topic of conversation for this football team. So if we get any updates around him, we're going to have a video for you guys. So make sure you guys subscribe today. Hit that subscribe button right down below, and we'll keep you posted with whatever may be around the Vikings and also 99. But let's just say the Vikings don't sign anybody. Let's just say they're not signing any free agents, and they let Danielle Hunter walk. They definitely got to draft a guy. My number 1 edge target this year is Dallas Turner, the edge from Alabama. As he stands at 6'4", 242 pounds. He's a freak athlete. He had 53 tackles this past season, 10 sacks, and 2 forced fumbles. The one thing I didn't love about Dallas Turner, after they lost to Michigan in the college football semifinal, he declared for the draft right away, which I thought was a little weird. But, on the field, this dude's a dog. I would absolutely love him at number 11 for the Vikings. So keep your eyes on him. If it's not quarterback, I do think it'll be edge at 11. But number 2 for me, love this dude, Jared Verse. It was very tough me not putting Verse, at number 1 on this, but hey, what are you gonna do? But Jared Verse out of Florida, 6'4", 260 pounds, from Dayton, Ohio, actually. Weird that we have a stud from Dayton. But 2023, he was great for Florida State. 41 tackles, 9 sacks, 1 forced fumble. In terms of, he's probably the best athlete out of the edge position in this year's class. Obviously needs to shore up his technique, but I think under Brian Flores, under the Vikings system, I think he could do that. I think he could really pop. And, he is actually pretty similar to Danielle Hunter coming out. He's got unorthodox pass rush moves, and maybe Danielle Hunter, if the Vikings do keep him, would be a great mentor for this player right here, Jared Verse. But number 3, Laiatu Latu, the edge out of UCLA. And this guy's kind of the opposite of the first 2 guys. He's more of a he's more technically sound than the first 2 and may not have the upside as an athlete. But again, this guy's an absolute dog. He's got crazy bend. Like, his ability to kind of swoop under, offensive tackles is really, really special. Comes in at 6'5", 265 pounds, 49 tackles, 13 sacks this past season, and 2 forced fumbles. Playing in the Pac-12. I love him. Any 3 of these guys, if the Vikings took them on draft day, if they do have the quarterback position figured out, I'd be absolutely thrilled. They need to address edge. Even if they don't, or even if they do bring Hunter back, I think, either 3 of these guys could be the pick at number 11. But I'll ask you guys, should the Vikings draft an edge rusher, 11th overall in this upcoming draft? Let me know your thoughts down below. Y for yes or N for no. As always, guys, make sure you guys are subscribed. Any updates around Danielle Hunter, Kirk Cousins, whatever it may be, I want to be your go-to YouTube channel. So hit that subscribe button, lock us in, and we'll see you guys next time. SKOL Vikes. All right, should the Vikes draft an edge rusher? As we got some super chats rolling in. Shout out to you guys. I appreciate it. As a absolute real one, Johnson, you came in the chat. What up, baby? As most of you guys are saying why for yes, and I'm kind of with you. I do think, even if you do bring back Hunter, I think you do need to draft an edge rusher. So, I don't know. I just think that's what the Vikings need to do. But Jeff Vikings coming in with a $5 super chat. Just type in those 99s. Jeff, I appreciate you, my man. Shout out to you. Yeah, Jeff, I'm the same way. Bring back Danielle Hunter. Maybe I'm a little biased towards him because he's he's our own. Like, he's our own player. We watched him develop under us, but even if it's for $23 million a year, I would absolutely bring him back. But Jeff, thank you so much for supporting the show. Really, really, really do appreciate it. And then Roger Ball coming back in. Roger, I literally have the Danielle Hunter. I probably should have worn that for today's episode. I got it right out there. He says, hi to all the real ones. Roger, hi to you as well. Thank you so much for tuning in. Guys, right now, we're $55 away from a boot on today's show. So if you guys want to take advantage, hey, pretty good deal. But then Johnson, a $10 super chat. Johnson, Minnesota Vikings insider here, saying, I think Vikings should get Kadarius Toney, Evan Neal, Trey Lance, James Bradbury, and Dalvin Cook. I like all those names, Johnson. I really do. And then lock up Josh Dobbs for $120 million a year, $120 million deal over 4 years. And then also Nick Mullins for $25 million a year. Let's go Vikings. Hashtag SKOL. Johnson, the biggest Vikings fan we know. He actually works for the Minnesota Vikings. He's an insider, so he's got direct correlations to this team. But Johnson, you're an absolute troll, man. You're an absolute troll. Hey, shout out the Knicks though, huh? JU, shout out the Knicks. As Vikings fan number 1 in the chat, what up? How you doing? Amp in the chat saying, what draft pick do we have? Number 11. Picking number 11 overall. Then Max Cardozo saying, sign Christian Wilkins and Chase Young if they're going to cut Danielle Hunter. Hey, I love that. But if you want to put that back in the chat and use hashtag Vikings, I would really appreciate it. We're going to have a mailbag coming up in about 15 or 20 minutes. So get those questions in there. Also, you guys can super chat like a bunch of you guys have already. So hashtag Vikings. If you guys want to get questions in there, we're going to have a mailbag coming up here shortly. Johnson, or Jay Host, and I work for Justin Jefferson. What up, Amp? Yeah, appreciate it. As Johnson, you say, nice, man. They're going to cut Cousins soon. Daniel Jones, QB1 soon. Johnson, would you want Kirk in New York as a free agent signing? Yeah. Ty, man, the Buckeye, shout out to you in the chat. Best mod. Darius Robinson. Really? He's a freak. Like, he looks like Hunter. You said Darius Robinson? Keep your eyes out for Darius Robinson, then. Johnson, you say, nah, I want Tommy Cutlets as QB1 for the Giants next season. Yeah, makes sense. As Jeff Vikings saying, I wouldn't be heartbroken if none of our backup QBs came back. Yeah, Jeff, me either. I don't want Josh Dobbs or Nick Mullins at all. I'm watching a clip right now of this. Jesus. Look at that pop. All right, Darius Robinson might be the new Ivan Pace for Trace and I this offseason. Keep your eyes out. Darius Robinson. We trade Kirk for Aaron Rodgers. Oh, that would be spicy. Yeah, we're gonna talk about Aaron Rodgers once this offseason, just that he's gonna follow the Brett Favre career kind of trajectory, but not right now. But guys, get those questions in there. Hashtag Vikings. We need more of them, or else we're just not gonna do the mailbag. But if you guys want to do it, use hashtag Vikings. Get those questions in there. Jeff Vikings, get one in there. Johnson, you get a question in there. JU, and then also Amp would like to see a question from you. But coming up here in just a second, I got 4 dudes who I think are going to be cut by the Vikings this offseason. Top cut candidates. There's not a lot of them, but I think there are 4 really, really obvious ones that I do want to share with you guys. So what was Rodgers' contract worth with the Jets? It's a lot of money. I mean, he's staying in New York. It's kind of joking about that, but hey, you guys could ask that in a question. Should the Vikes go get Rodgers? That'd be fun to talk about. But Trace is ready. We're going to dive into top cut candidates for the Minnesota Vikings this season. Coming up on today's edition of Vikings Now, we're going to be looking at the top cut candidates for this football team heading into the offseason. My name is Patrick Siepman, and welcome in. Obviously, these videos, aren't the most fun to make because you're talking about cutting players from your football team. But I think, financially, the Vikings have 4 names that I do think are fairly obvious, that they will get cut. And the one that hurts the most, but the one that, is most obvious is Harry the Hitman, Harrison Smith. I think he is number 1, no doubt the top cut candidate for this football team. His base salary in 2024 is set at $14.5 million, and then if they would release him pre-June 1st, they would save $11.3 million on this year's cap. But if they release him post-June 1st, they would save $15.2 million. Obviously, if you cut him, it makes sense to cut him more post-June 1st, but their dead cap money would be split up in the 2024 and 2025. Where if you cut him pre-June 1st, it would just all be on the 2024 dead cap. But no doubt, Harrison Smith definitely lost a step this past season. And he had that one really good game against the Carolina Panthers where he was coming off the edge and Brian Flores was using him as that Swiss Army knife. He was lining up at D tackle that game. He was lining up at edge, linebacker, nickel corner, whatever it may be. Harrison Smith was all over the field, but in terms of just his overall, athletic ability and just his overall play, he's definitely lost a step. He's not the same guy that he was in years past. And also, shout out to Rick Spielman to signing him to that ridiculous contract extension 2 off seasons ago, and now that's a big reason why he may be cut. But also another big reason why he may be cut is the safety trio that I think is really emerging in the National Football League. Josh Metellus, he was the only defender in the NFL this past season to play every single position on defense. Absolutely incredible. He impressed me so much. He is the definition of a versatile football player, and we know how much, a guy like Brian Flores values that. Jay Ward, our rookie last season out of LSU, didn't play too much, but in limited reps, he looked great. And I would love to see him, continue to develop once Harrison Smith does get cut. Then Cam Bynum, I thought he's been great this past season. He was great his rookie year. He was originally drafted as a corner, shifted to safety, and he really came onto the scene strong during his rookie campaign. Kind of took a step back during his sophomore year, but hey, in his 3rd season, he really did pop out. So I think these 3 are also another big reason why I would be okay with cutting Harrison Smith. But man, let's just take a little trip back down memory lane real quick. Just looking at his career numbers for the Vikings, I mean, just ridiculous. That the fact that the 4 stats I chose for a safety to show right now are tackles, sacks, interceptions, and touchdowns. The fact that he filled up the stat sheet in all 4 of those just speaks to the player he is. I mean, he was incredible under Mike Zimmer specifically. I mean, him and Harrison Smith, it was just a perfect combination for those two. He was an absolute beast with the Vikings, over 1,000 tackles in his career, 19.5 sacks, 34 interceptions, and 4 touchdowns. I hate saying that the Vikings should cut him, but it may just be one of those things. It comes down to the numbers. It comes down to the financials. And Harrison Smith, for me, number 1 cut candidate this season for the Minnesota Vikings. But even though I'm talking about cutting him, I do want to show him some love on today's video. So if you guys want to show Harrison Smith some love, go down there, like today's video, show the Hitman, show number 22 your support, because I think we might have seen him play his last football game in the purple and gold. But go down there, like today's video to show Harrison Smith some love. Harrison to another Harrison Phillips here. I think he's a big cut candidate as well. Number 2 for me, his base salary, pretty simple, $6.5 million this season. You release him pre and post June 1st, you will be saving $6.5 million, and maybe the Vikings, choose to do so. And listen, Harrison Phillips was not bad this past year by any means, but he wasn't great, and he was kind of the focal point of that defensive line. And obviously, the Vikings' run defense, wasn't too good this season. You can chalk it up to the linebacker play. You can chalk it up to to whatever it may be. But I think a big part of that does fall into the main guy on that defensive line. PFF graded him out pretty middle of the pack at 59.7, run defense 65.6, pass rush at 53.6, giving him 62 tackles and 4 sacks on the season. But I do think you can move off him, and I think you got a ton of great options that you could replace him with in free agency. I would like to see the Vikings eventually kind of go all in on a defensive lineman. They tried to do that with Michael Pierce a couple of years back, but it just did not work out. For Michael Pierce, and now he's back, in Baltimore. But a guy like Chris Jones, Christian Wilkins, Leonard Williams, DJ Reader, these are all guys that I would love the Vikings to sign. If you could somehow, I think Chris Jones will stay in Kansas City, but if you could somehow get Christian Wilkins, it's kind of my main guy that I want the Vikings to sign because, he adds a sort of a swagger to the defensive line. I think the Vikings have been a soft football team over the past couple of seasons, and adding a guy like Wilkins, I think would just add a little more oomph that side of the football and add a little more juice to it. So, listen, those are 5 options that you could use to replace a guy like Harrison Phillips, but I definitely do think he, more likely than not, that he will be cut this offseason. But if you guys want to stay up to date on anything around this football team, if Harrison Smith, Harrison Phillips, whoever it may be, does get cut from this roster, we'll have a video for you guys out as soon as possible. So hit that subscribe button. Lock us in as your go-to Vikings YouTube channel. There's a ton of great YouTube channels out there that cover the Vikes, but I want to be your go-to one. So hit that sub button and lock us in. Another defensive lineman for the Vikings, Dean Lowry, who was signed last season from the Green Bay Packers. And the Vikings, they could save $4.4 million if they release him pre-June 1st and $3.8 if they release him post-June 1st, and his base salary is $3.7. Listen, Dean Lowry was, he was all right this past season, but again, he didn't live up to that contract they signed him to in the offseason. And whether it's free agency, NFL draft, trade, whatever it may be, the Vikings need to address the defensive line. I mean, I'm just sick of having, one of the worst groups in the NFL for the past couple of seasons. Kwesi has just yet to address it in the draft or, barely in free agency with, Dean Lowry and Harrison Phillips being the 2 signings. But I got two guys in the draft that, maybe it would be a total reach to take them at 11. But maybe the Vikings are saying, hey, we want to get aggressive, and maybe they take a quarterback at 11. And they're saying, hey, I want to trade back up into the first round and get a really, blue-chip defensive lineman. Jerzon Newton out of Illinois, great option. And then T'Vondre Sweat out of Texas. These 2 are mammoths of a human being, very similar to like the Patrick Williams and Kevin Williams, defensive linemen that the Vikings had in years past. So these 2 guys, A-plus, blue chip players that the Vikings can draft on this offensive line. But before we get into more cut candidates around the Minnesota Vikings, I want to tell you guys about this great deal we have going on at chatsports.com/Vikings hoodie, where hoodies are up to 50% off right now. We got all types of options. It's still cold up there in Minnesota, so if you guys want to rock the Vikings and stay warm, make sure you guys check out that link. It's going to be in the comment section and description of today's show. Chatsports.com/Vikings hoodie. Get hooked up today. It's cold in Minnesota. If you guys want to stay warm and support your football team, make sure you guys do so. Chatsports.com/Vikings hoodie. Hoodies are up to 50% off. All right. Third one for me, Bryon Murphy as my third cut candidate for the Minnesota Vikings. This one's tough here, trying to cut Bryon Murphy, but I think it makes sense. And, his base salary right now is $4.5 million, and if you release him pre-June 1st, you would save $4.5 million as well, but post-June 1st, you would save $8.7 million. And listen, you may be saying, why would the Vikings cut Bryon Murphy? Look at their cornerback room. They don't have a lot of options. They only have 5 corners heading into next season as it stands right now, and there's really only 2 of them that, I would feel confident at setting out there on the football field, and that's Caleb Evans and Mekhi Blackman. And obviously Andrew Booth, is starting to look like a bust at this point. And, Najee Thompson, the UDFA from this past season, he's just a special teams demon. He's not going to get consistent reps in the secondary for the Vikings next season. But kind of gets me to this. The Vikings can't afford to cut him. I understand that, he had a couple of shaky games. DJ Moore cooked him for 150. Keenan Allen cooked him for over 200 yards. But overall, I just don't think the Vikings can afford to cut him. Maybe he may not be a true cornerback 1, but I do think he will be a hell of a cornerback 2, cornerback 3 maybe. But I just think, the Vikings, it would just be a bad decision if they would release him. And honestly, also the defense was terrible after he got hurt in Week 15. When you asked Caleb Evans and Mekhi Blackman to kind of be the 2 cornerstones of that secondary, it did not go well. Listen, the Lions absolutely cooked the Vikings secondary last game of this, or 2 of the last 3 games of the year. Amon-Ra, Jameson Williams, they just cooked that secondary, obviously with Bryon Murphy being out. But there are options to replace him in free agency. I do expect the top 2 guys right here to go back to the respective ball clubs in Jalen Johnson and Ladarius Sneed, but also Kendall Fuller. He could be a sneaky option. Stephen Gilmore and Adoree Jackson, they're more cooked products, I would say, compared to back in their prime, but, they're solid veterans that maybe Flores would like to have an older player back there in that secondary. They could be also options. Also, this year's draft, you got guys like Nate Wiggins, Kool-Aid McKinstry. There's a ton of great options for the Vikings out there, but these are 5 guys that I think could be options to replace Bryon Murphy or just add some more juice to that secondary. But let me know, who do you guys think the Vikings will cut this offseason? I think it's going to be Harrison Smith, man. If I had to just choose one name, it's probably going to be Harry the Hitman. Hate to say it, but it just makes too much sense financially. But let me know, who do you think the Vikings will cut? And if they cut any of those guys, we'll have a video for you guys as soon as we can. So make sure you lock us in, hit that subscribe button. Help us reach 23,000 subs here on the channel. Subscribe today. See you guys next time. SKOL Vikes. Oh, let me know, who do you guys think the Vikings will cut this offseason? As we got, let me just catch up with the chat right now. It's saying Roger Bong saying it is 54 degrees here today in St. Paul. It has never been this warm in January in my lifetime. It is crazy perfect hoodie weather. Yeah, listen, guys, we're in Dallas, Texas right now. Feels like it's about 7 degrees out there. It feels like summertime. But yeah, what's going on in here? I love this summer weather in the dead of winter. Yeah, it's January 31st, and it's 40 or 54 degrees in Minneapolis. That's crazy. It is crazy. I feel like it should be like 5, 10, like
in my opinion, this is the coldest part of the year. Like
it should,
late January, early February is colder than November, December.
You look all over the country though. It's warm.
Weird.
It's warm. I mean, dude, I wore shorts and a t-shirt today walking into the office.
Yeah.
Like crazy.
We'll say this. Weather's nice, which is nice.
Whoa, weather's nice. I love it.
Beautiful.
I love it. Hey, it's fine. Football season's over. I don't want any more cold weather. That is cool with me. Yeah, Roger's saying it should be 5 below. Yeah, definitely. It hasn't snowed in 2 years here in New York. I did not know that, Max. I did not know that. But, guys, we're going to get into a mailbag here coming up in a second. So if you guys do want to get in on the show, hashtag Vikings, or you guys can super chat. We're up to $45 in super chats today. 55 away from a boot. If we get there before the end of the mailbag, I'd appreciate it. But if not, no worries. We appreciate you guys showing love to the channel and just hanging out with us, on this middle of the Wednesday. So really do thank you guys so much for tuning in. But use hashtag Vikings if you guys want to get your question in on the show. Or if you guys send in a super chat right now, you guys will be number 1 on our show today.
Yo, Amp, I appreciate you for sending a message and then following it up with hashtag Vings. But you need to include hashtag Vikings in your actual message.
Yeah, put it in the actual message and put hashtag Vikings, and we'll throw you up on screen, Amp. We appreciate it, but it just helps our software. Yeah. I see your comment, Trey. Tyman the Buckeye, he's got eyes on everywhere here at Chat Sports. He's a Chat Sports mod legend. I love we got all the mods in the chat today. Roger and Tyman. Hashtag Vikings. Let's go. There you go, Amp. Give me some right there, brother. Woo! Shout out to you. Are we good on questions, you think, or should we get a couple more in there? Take my time with these. We'll take our time. Yeah, Brock Bowers is an interesting one because, especially with T.J. Hawkinson, shout out to frickin' Kirby Joseph, biggest scumbag in the NFL, taking out his knee. There was a town in Canada warmer than Florida today. Wow, that is wild. Crazy stuff's going on, man. Crazy stuff. Also, all this flooding going on, all the fog. There's some shady stuff going on right now.
What is the government trying to do to us?
What is the government trying to cover up? I don't know.
Tinfoil hats on, folks.
I think it's Biden. I don't know, though. All right. Are you guys ready to go or what? Mailbag time here on the channel. Let's dive into it. What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Vikings Now by Chat Sports. My name is Patrick Siepman. Coming up on today's show, we answer questions from you guys, our subscribers, here to Vikings Now. I love doing these. We do these part of our weekly live shows on Wednesday at around 1:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. So if you guys have not tuned in yet, make sure you guys do so and hit that sub button and lock us in. But let's kick it to Joey, starting off today's show. Great question. He says, draft Jared Verse or Dallas Turner or Leitu Latu, and also who do you want? So if I had to pick an edge rusher out of those 3, I'm probably going Dallas Turner. I think I'm going to go Dallas Turner. If I had to pick one out of those 3, probably go Dallas Turner. Just any single time I watch Bama play this season, he just absolutely popped off the screen for me. I think he's got the most potential out of those 3. And I think if the Vikings do bring back Hunter, I think if you have just the amount of firepower you would come have coming off the edges in Turner and Hunter, I think would be something special. But if the Vikings draft either three of those guys at 11th overall, I would be pretty thrilled about it. But, his numbers this past season, 53 tackles, 10 sacks, and 2 forced fumbles. But I would be down for either one of those guys. SKOL Nation's coming in next with I had a feeling I was going to get a question about Antoine Winfield Jr. As he said, should the Vikings sign Antoine Winfield in the upcoming free agency period? Oh, man, I would like to. I would like to sign Antoine Winfield, but I do think he is going to demand a lot more money than the Vikings are willing to give up. And listen, the Vikings safety spot right now, I love what Josh Metellus has done. I loved what Cam Bynum's done. Even got a young and up-and-coming guy like Jay Ward, and you still even got a guy like Lewis Seen, on this roster. But, I'll tell you what, Antoine Winfield, the definition of a versatile safety here in the National Football League. And what is the number one word that Brian Flores loves to use when he's talking about, evaluating defensive players? Versatility. And I think Winfield and Brian Flores would just be a match made in heaven. And plus, he would be able to, go play for his dad's former team, which I think would be pretty cool as well. Maybe we had to dust off the 26 Winfield jerseys if we bring back Antoine Winfield. That would be pretty sweet. But I'd be all in on signing him. It's obviously going to come down to the money, but I'd definitely do it. But it's not about me here on Vikings Now. It's about you. Would you sign Antoine Winfield Jr.? Give me an S for sign or give me a P for pass down in the comment section. Let me know what you guys have to think. All right, what do you guys think? My bad. All right, Johnson, you coming in saying, do you foresee Kirk as a long-time option for QB1? Would it be a disservice if they didn't re-sign him? Do you think he becomes a Daniel Jones after he gets paid? Johnson, you, great question. You just impressed me right there. Do you foresee Kirk as a long-term option? No, I do not. Even if the Vikings do bring him back, I think it's max, the most amount of years they would give him would be 2 years. And, I got to give a shout out to the Green Bay Packers. I think they've handled it right with their quarterback position over the last 30 years by drafting a guy and having him sit for multiple seasons. I think the Vikings have the option to do that where you could bring back Kirk, 1 or 2 year deal, draft a guy at 11 or trade up for whoever you want it to be and have them sit and then really groom your quarterback of the future. But would it be a disservice if they didn't re-sign him? I don't know about disservice. I would be probably disappointed because, I think a guy like Justin Jefferson could be looking around and being like, man, I just set almost every receiving record with Kirk throwing me the football. Now you're going to go to a rookie, and then if the rookie doesn't work out, then would Jefferson maybe want out? So I don't know about disservice, but I'd be disappointed. And then do you think he becomes a Daniel Jones after he gets paid? Well, Kirk's been paid before, so I'm going to probably have to go no. I don't think money is the motivation for Kirk. I do think it's winning, even though he has, he has grabbed that money during his NFL career, but I definitely think the number one motivation for him right now is putting a Super Bowl trophy on that mantle in his house. Let's kick it to Roger Bong, though. Saying Kirk is not going to get what he is asking for. Why would you pay him what he is asking for off an injury? Yeah, it's a great point. There was a report came out. It was from Charlie Walters, who works for the Pioneer Press, who said Kirk wanted, I think it was a 2-year, $90 million deal, fully guaranteed, which is $45 million a year of average annual salary. Listen, if Kirk's asking for that, hell no. I'm not giving him that. My offer for Kirk would be around 2 for $60. 2 for $60, fully guaranteed, $30 million a year, yes or no. And my argument to Kirk would be, listen, you're going to keep your family in Minnesota. You're going to still play with Justin Jefferson. You got an offensive head coach. You are familiar with what Kevin O'Connell likes to do. And as we know, Kirk Cousins has had multiple offensive coordinators throughout his career so far. I think he would do the 2 for $60. But if it's 2 for $90, Roger, hell no. I'm not even sniffing at that thought. No, no, and no. We'll get to more questions from you guys here in a second, but I do want to give a huge shout out to today's sponsor, and that is Prize Picks. Prize Picks is daily fantasy sports made easy, and all you got to do, you're going to choose 2 or more players, choose more or less on their projected stat types, and you guys can start seeing the cash roll in today. This is a lineup I'm rolling with for Super Bowl weekend, or the Super Bowl coming up here in a couple weeks. I'm going Patrick Mahomes, more than half a passing yard. They got a deal going on right now, so take advantage. Pacheco, I think he's finding the end zone during the Super Bowl, so I'm going to take more on a half rushing and receiving touchdown. Then McCaffrey, I think he's going to fill up the stat sheet. I'm going to go more on 35.5 receiving yards for him. But whether you fade my picks or ride it's my picks, do it at Prize Picks. PrizePicks.com/CLNS and use that promo code CLNS for a first deposit match all the way up to $100. All right, coming to the greatest ever, saying, if the Vikings don't bring back Kirk, what are some other options at quarterback? That's a good question. Well, I definitely think you could go, NFL draft, J.J. McCarthy, Michael Penix, Bo Nix. We don't need to trade up for one of those guys. And obviously you got the, two main guys in Caleb Williams and Drake May, but some free agent options that the Vikings could possibly sign. These are the veteran guys that could be more of a bridge quarterback here, where the Vikings could still get a guy in the draft, and these guys could be a cheaper bridge guy. And Tyrod Taylor, he would be a great option. I've always been a big fan of Tyrod. I think he's actually a quarterback that, if you got a good enough roster around him, I think he's good enough to get you to the playoffs and maybe win you a playoff game. Like, I've always been a fan of Tyrod. Jacoby Brissett, one of the more underrated quarterbacks in the National Football League. Ryan Tannehill, I think he would be a great veteran, great mentor for a guy. I wouldn't hate that at all either. Sam Darnold, probably out on him. And if you guys just want to have fun and just throw a party, every Sunday in Minnesota, famous Jameis Winston would be, would be a great option. Mr. 30 for 30. Jameis would be hysterical to be the quarterback of the Vikings. Honestly, I don't hate it. Maybe go get Jameis and go draft a quarterback. That might be my new favorite option right there. Take him away from the Saints too. But those are some free agent options for the Vikings. As Rocky saying, is it official that Jaren Hall can't play? I don't know about if we're officially calling him a bust right now, but I mean, definitely it just did not look good. I mean, he was a 5th-round pick for a reason, and I don't want to overreact to him only. I think it was 43 snaps he had on total on offense this season, but kind of a thing. Eyes don't lie with the guy. It didn't look like he had any hidden talent as a 5th-round pick, I guess I could say. But yeah, I'd probably say it's official that Jaren Hall is not quarterback of the future. And in terms of backup quarterbacks for the Vikings, Hall, Dobbs, and Mullins, I'm fine with the Vikings not bringing back any one of them. I think the Vikings, since Kirk got hurt this past season, probably had the worst quarterback room in the National Football League. Roger Bong, next up, saying, what about running back? I love Ty, but we need some depth. Great question, Roger. I agree. Same spot. I love Ty Chandler. I think he's great. I think he could be a really solid running back in this league, but I agree. We do need some depth. And, I really do not want them to bring back Alexander Madison, but, he probably will be on this football team next season. Could they go get a guy like Saquon, Derrick Henry in free agency? Maybe. This isn't a great running back class, but I'm always down. I'm always in the camp where it's take a running back in the 5th round and just keep legs fresh. So, yeah, I love Ty Chandler, but I agree. I think we definitely do need to add some depth there. Coming in from York Giants, saying, #Vikings, Danielle Hunter should not be cut. The safety should be cut. Is Lewis Seen? Yeah, so I was looking at Lewis Seen. Listen, the Vikings, in terms of cap savings for Lewis Seen, they're really not saving much. But maybe you just want to open up a roster spot, and I may not disagree with you. I mean, listen, he has not played in his NFL career. He had that compound leg fracture that he suffered against the Saints in London. But, I mean, this past season, he had a chance to get on the football field. Brian Flores runs 3 safety sets more than anybody in the league, and he still couldn't crack this rotation. So I don't know if the Vikings would cut him. I mean, that would be absolutely devastating, cutting a 1st-round pick, and you never really got to see him play. I wouldn't cut him. I get what you're saying, though, but I'd still hold out on Lewis Seen. Just not yet. Give him one more season, then maybe we could talk about cutting him, next offseason. Coming to Amp here saying, get Brock Bowers. Okay, this is an interesting one. I'll stay in this camp that maybe he falls due at 11, and we'll go off that. But, obviously we do know T.J. Hawkinson just actually got his offseason surgery a couple days ago after you guys are seeing this. So he probably won't be ready until maybe October, November-ish of next season. And obviously with Josh Oliver, he's a blocking tight end. He's not a true tight end. And besides that, are we really confident rolling out guys like Johnny Munt, Ben Ellefson, guys like that? Probably not. But go get Brock Bowers. I don't know if I'm spending a 1st-round pick on a tight end, considering you do have the highest paid tight end in the league right now. Probably say no on Brock Bowers, but I definitely do think he's going to be an absolute stud. And if I was a tight end needy team in the top 10, sign me up. Brock Bowers, he's going to be a dog in the league. But yeah, I'd probably say no on that. But as always, guys, make sure you guys are subscribed here to the channel. Help us reach 23,000 subs here on Vikings Now by Chat Sports. I really do appreciate everybody tuning in and watching today's mailbag. Make sure you guys are subscribed. See you guys next time. Skol Vikes. Alrighty. What's up, Ty Man the Buckeye? Maya's World saying, do you see Kirk Cousins returning as a Vikings player? Also, who do you have in the Super Bowl? And also about Saquon to the Vikings. I'm kind of 50-50 on Cousins coming back next season, but who do I have in the Super Bowl? It's the Chiefs. It's not even close. I think the Chiefs, I don't care how it happens, the Chiefs are going to win that football game because I cannot envision in my head where it's Brock Purdy holding a Super Bowl trophy with Mahomes being the losing quarterback on the other side. Maybe Brock Purdy's our generation's Eli Manning and he's beating Brady, but I don't know. I doubt it. I doubt it. Vikings fan number 1 saying, can you be live at 4 p.m. because that is when I get home from school. Listen, that's something we could talk about. I could run that by the bosses. It's just, we got a busy schedule here at Chat Sports, and, it's kind of one of those things where it's just like, I just want to get live while I can. So I could see, maybe we could do something. Obviously it's not ideal time to go live, but, I'm thinking once we just kind of keep on building it up, obviously it'll help you guys out. But yeah, I'll see what we can do. But I want to say thank you guys, everybody tuning in today. We're going to get on out of here. Seriously, thank you guys so much for tuning in to today's live show. Shout out to Adam Schmidt, Jeff Vikings, Roger Bong, and Johnson, all of you guys sending a super chat. Really, really, really do appreciate it. We'll see you guys next time. We'll be back probably next Wednesday at around 1:30. Vikings Rome. Shout out to you in the chat. Just saw you. But thank you guys so much. See you all soon. SKOL Vikes.